Well, hello there, and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting right here from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. We have such a great show for you. Of course, this is Brian Wesley Johnson, as you already know, but we have a fantastic co host with us today. I'm going to welcome Teresa Greco. Hey, Teresa.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Morning,
Hey,
morning.
hey. Of course, this is our Motivational Monday show. You like that, Teresa?
Yay.
Um, where we talk about a whole lot of different things around the world. Teresa, but this past Sunday was, of course, Father's Day. And so I was asking you about your Father's Day. Mine was great, very restful. Went to a great restaurant here. My honey took me to a nice restaurant for dinner. But you had a fantastic time because you went to a concert.
Yes, I did. I did. We had Father's Day outside. We did a barbecue, and then we
Oof.
had the Ed Sheeran concert here in Toronto. So we played.
Wow.
Yeah, he played for 3 nights. He played more of a private venue on Friday, and
Uh-huh.
then he was at the Rogers Center, which is a massive dome here that opens. It has the roof that opens when the weather's nice.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, 50,000 people piled in, and it started around like 8, and then it just continued to get more dark outside. So he had an incredible setup of screens and lights and fireworks and fire, and with the roof open, it was literally like having watching an outdoor concert by Ed Sheeran, just like so personal to you. Like the screen, there were so many screens. His setup was incredible. This revolving stage, the acoustics were like I don't even. Like considering the dome was open too, it was
Hmm.
so good. And he sang and he sang. Even when we're like, "Oh my goodness, how is this going?" Yeah, he was incredible. It was the best concert of my life.
Wow.
Mhm.
Now that sounds like a fantastic time.
So good.
Well,
Yeah.
happy Father's Day to him.
Thank you.
And happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are out there. Though it was yesterday, there's never a bad time to say Happy Father's Day.
Amazing.
As always, listen, everyone, we want you to be part of this conversation as we talk about these motivational topics from around the world. We want your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Just post them right to our live feeds on Facebook and YouTube, and we will pull you into the conversation and have some fun. So, why don't we get hop to it? Um, because I think for both of us, the Father's Day was like our hot motivation over the last few weeks, and enjoying that in terms of inspiration, especially an Ed Sheeran concert. Man, that sounds so good.
Mhm, mhm.
While we get to our first our first motivational Monday story that comes from the New York Times. And this goes from Preston Montega, who's 14, had no idea that when he created the Spider Man Across the Spider Verse trailer using Lego characters, it would lead to a job offer. For years, Preston has been making computer generated Lego versions of his dad's old computer on his dad's old computer. He shared his Across the Spider Verse trailer online, and when Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the directors of the Lego movie and writer producers for the Across the Spider Verse movie, when they saw it, they were blown away by what he created. And asked Preston if he would be interested in animating a scene for the movie featuring Lego blocks and figures. His dad built him a new computer, and Preston worked on the scene after finishing his homework. Preston told the New York Times that being able to work on the movie with people who actually made this masterpiece was honestly like a dream. Wow. How cool is that?
Very cool.
I mean, man. So again, this kid, 14 years old, was just having fun
Mhm.
and created these trailers that now he's probably going to have a job for for now until forever.
Wow.
14 years old,
Very
you
cool.
know, you know. Now, like I know my son loves things like he loves music and he's created like different songs and that kind of thing. That's always been his thing. He also draws. So I love the fact that we've been able to, you know, give him space to be able to be creative like that. And it's turning out that it's helping him in other areas of his life. For your kids, Teresa, do you see like, you know, like I know both of your kids are both creative, right? They both have creative skills.
I think that everybody's creative.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
We're all creative, but we only think that creativity shows up in particular ways, right?
right,
Like,
right.
oh yeah, if you paint, if you draw,
Hey,
and
exactly,
right,
exactly.
and so create. But recently I've within the last year, and through my show too, we actually there's one episode that we were talking about the how we are made in the likeness of our creator,
Right,
and
right,
that we are innately creative, but because we've pigeonholed this idea of creativity into only these things, people are like, I'm not creative. Like even my son will say he's not creative. But I'm like,
wow,
Luca, that's, you think that because you're not a good painter, because you can't paint like the example that they give you, then you're not a good painter. And I'm like, no. And even as an educator myself, I was very, careful about ensuring that if I showed the students an example, it's like, this is just inspiration. I don't want you to replicate this image exactly like this in
right,
order for you to try to get a good mark. I want you to express your creativity by giving your own version
right,
of it.
exactly.
So, um, so when I think of, when you said, "Oh, are your kids creative?" I'm like, I'm like, they're creative. If we're all creative, every single time we create something,
Hmm.
whether it's like a cup of coffee that you created, whether it's a
Right,
sandwich you put together, a meal that you put together, how you put your hair together, your outfit that you put, like it's
yeah.
all day long. We are literally expressing our creativity in in many different ways, not
Hmm.
just in the
Hmm.
traditional ways.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think that sometimes we forget that by expressing all of who we are and just letting it free flow, right? Like this 14-year-old using his dad's old computer to do Lego trailers, right? We just thought it was cool. That can lead you to unexpected miracles,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Which was this. I mean, um, maybe this for Preston, this 14-year-old, maybe this answers a question around, you know, maybe I really just want to be an animator, right? Or pursue this in film. Maybe that leads to something else, but
mhm,
that he's in the flow
mhm,
of his own life and that he's embracing all of it, right?
mhm.
And so I love that.
It would be interesting to see how what this incident might have sparked within him that
Hmm.
ends up taking him more on the path to whatever he's supposed to do in this lifetime for this planet, whatever his purpose is. So, and I think it also speaks to the power of social media
Hmm.
to share projects like this or things that people average people are doing, but then they happen to get into the right hands, and all of a sudden it becomes like such a hit,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
really changing someone's life and just it's amazing.
Uh, you know, a couple of last things on this. His mother, Giselle Montaga, a public health instructor, said, I know Preston has a gift that was given to him by God. And once we identified that he had that gift, all we could do as parents was to nurture it and let him fly. Oh,
Hmm.
oh.
I like that. Nurturing it and letting it fly instead of saying, no, you can't play with those, or no, we don't want you doing that. We want you doing
Mhm.
more of this, where parents can be overbearing like that,
And
right?
and as I'm looking through the story, we got our answer. Um, and he said, while Montega is still dedicated to his high school studies. He's in high school doing all this cool stuff. That's so wonderful. His career goal of becoming a full-time animator and director feels more within reach than
Wow.
he or his parents might have imagined at this stage. I adored the first movie and was so hyped for the second one. So getting to work with the people who actually made this masterpiece is honestly like a dream. So there we go.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got that
That's
answer.
confirmation. That's the universe just confirming, saying,
A-
yep.
Absolutely. So
And
way to go, Preston. Way to
pointing.
go. So I mean, that's just I love that. It's kind of like more than out of the mouth of babes. It's like out of the life of babes, right? Where these kids are just kind of like leading the way and reminding us of what's possible, right? I mean, he was just having fun and being in the flow of a dream that he thought he could have, and that manifested into something physical in his own life, where it's like this is not where it's kind of like the universe kind of saying, not only is this possible, but it's yours if you want to take it, right? And so here's an example, and boom. And so uh way to go, Preston. Way to go. Oh man, listen, we got more motivational Monday coming with me and Teresa on this morning, and we hope that you're enjoying every bit of it. We got about three more stories to go, but we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what's happening in Madagascar with a 3D printer. So if you want to hear more about that, stay tuned. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Hey there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So, how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoy the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life. And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity with me and Teresa. And this is a motivational Monday to get your week started with some great stories from around the world that will definitely inspire you. So why don't we keep moving? This next story comes from Fast Company and in Madagascar, around the world. And this is about give thinking huts, where if you give them a few days and they'll turn an empty lot into a school campus. Founded by 23-year-old Maggie Grout, Thinking Huts is a nonprofit devoted to making education accessible in Madagascar. According to the United Nations, 3 out of 4 children living there don't go to school because of overcrowding or treacherous commutes. Using a 3D printer, in 18 hours, Thinking Huts can build a structure a community can use as a classroom. In 2022, Thinking Huts completed its first campus in Fanarosa, a city of 200,000 people in south central Madagascar. It has huts, solar panels, a potable water, toilets, and Wi Fi. Oh, that's cool. I'd live in
Mhm.
that sucker. Soon, Thinking Huts will unveil its second campus, which will serve 3 villages on the West Coast. Once schools are built, they are run by local partners. We really just we're really just aiming to be a stepping stone for the community to be a success on their own, Grout told Fast Company. Wow.
Mhm.
Again, young people on the move.
Mhm.
Young people are on the move. How cool is that?
Mhm. Mhm. Invite people to check out the article because then you could see what these huts look like.
Yeah, let's see
And
if we can get
they're
this.
very different because she's making them on the 3D printer. The construction of them is different, and that allows her to be able to build it in just 18 hours. Like how I'm like, wow, how did they this structure looks incredible.
Yeah, and that's Maggie right there too.
And how do you do this in 18 hours? Because
Right,
it looks like it could take much longer. And then, as you said, have all those amenities.
right, exactly. And here's some more pictures of it, everybody, where it's all this is 3D printed, and and it's a sound structure and and all that. I mean, that's really 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 cool. That's really really cool. Way to go, Maggie.
Yeah.
I mean, again, these are two young people
Mhm.
that you know through technology changed the game, right? I mean,
Mhm.
we talked about Preston Mantaga earlier, who was talking who did this, was thinking about being an animator, digital animator, and created a trailer just on his own, and now was featured in a motion picture at 14. His some of his art was done, and now you have Maggie Grout, who through her own passion in terms of uh, education and helping her country move past what was considered to be limits to now be limitless.
Mhm.
I mean, that's really cool. The fact that they have that it's powered by solar, right?
Yeah.
It has portable water, so you can have some drinking water. There's toilets, right? So kids don't have to go into a unsafe or unsanitary situation to use the bathroom, and Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
which is probably also um, powered by solar. You know,
And I love this emphasis on ensuring that kids can get to school,
yeah,
right? That certain we take many things for granted here,
right,
right? Because they're just like children, right? They begrumbles going to school.
right,
Many of them don't want to go,
right,
and here there are some kids that don't have the option.
right,
Like, and we have to remind ourselves of how how lucky. Like, how is it that we have kids here that don't want to go,
right,
other ones still on this planet who don't have the option to go, and how that impacts their life because they don't go, and how many kids are going and don't maximize their full potential at
Right.
school because they're not being reminded of how grateful we should be to have structures that we could go to, and materials, and as you said, indoor plumbing. Like, there, we just take all of this for granted, and we
You
should.
know,
And that's what, like, this, for me, this story is also like, there's a whole bunch of great tidbits in here, but
right.
that, it's like, as you were listing up, how amazing the structure is, you're like, indoor plumbing. It's like, wow, whoever goes to the washroom here and says thank you that we have,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Don't. But
Right.
the reality is that there are children here on this planet and people on this planet that don't have some of these things. It's just a natural thing, to go to, that we take for granted. So, it's amazing that she's trying to make, that more accessible for
Mhm.
people in those areas that don't have this.
I was thinking this too, that um, when it's not there, um, you then become more aware of the importance of these types of things, especially education. She says, I think that education is at the root of solving all the other problems in the world. This is Maggie Grout. This is the founder of Thinking Huts. She said, I would look at all these problems going on in the news, and I was like, well, if people just have the skills and the education to come up with solutions on their own,
Yes.
then we wouldn't be seeing all of this. And that is so true, because I look at, like, I mean, here at Soulivity, we talk about battling fear and ignorance, right?
Mhm.
Where a lot of problems that we have is based in ignorance. You just don't know. You just don't know the history, the culture, um, um, our ancestry, how we're interconnected, what other people are doing around the world, and that kind of thing. And so the cycle of separation just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. So I applaud you, Maggie, for stepping up and stepping out and supporting your community uh, with these beautiful thinking huts that are meeting people where they live and the needs that they have where they live.
Mhm.
One of the things she said, Teresa, was she didn't want to have a model like traditional charities where they kind of parachute in and kind of take over and then they leave. Um, she said that they come in, they work with the local partners, and they build the schools, build the huts and create the school based upon their needs, and then they hand that over to the local partner to maintain at that point.
Which is key, because,
Exactly.
right, often they just go in and, maybe resurrect a school or something like that, but
Right.
then, don't aren't able to ensure that they're able to upkeep the structure, or maybe they need more funding, or whatnot, to continue to keep it going.
Uh,
But that's one of the things that she's put into the project, is to ensuring that that happens. So that's also
wow.
great.
And just to let people know, this is something that Maggie Grout had for a long time in her mind. She said, for Grout, who was born in China but adopted by American parents, the idea for the nonprofit was sparked when she was 15. I'll repeat that. When she was 15.
Mhm.
It coupled her dad's background in the tech startup space with her own passion for increasing access to education. Wow. That's so cool.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's so cool. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, we've got even more great Motivational Monday stories coming up in just a second. So just hang on with me and Teresa, and we'll be back in about, say, about 60 seconds. 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 60
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hey there, we are back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. This is Brian and Teresa, and we're talking about motivational Monday stories to help you get your work week started and with some inspiration. Our next story comes from Mexico, from the Associated Press, where Mexico's Vanquita porpoises are holding steady in the Gulf of California. For 2 weeks in May, researchers sailed around the port of the Gulf, which is the only place vaquitas, the most endangered porpoise in the world, live. The team estimates it saw 10 to 13 of the porpoises, about the same number spotted in 2021. Vaquitas are small and elusive, and many of the sightings were through binoculars. The researchers saw at least one or two calves in the water, which is a hopeful sign. Vaquitas cannot be captured, held, or bred in captivity. Because of illegal fishing, the Catita population has dropped from 600 in 1997. Alex Overa, the Mexico representative for the Center of Biological Diversity, told the Associated Press, the new research is encouraging news and it shows that vaquitas are survivors. But we still need urgent conservation efforts to save these tiny porpoises from extinction. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh, they're so cute. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna try while we're talking here. I'm gonna try to pull up this video of how cool they are. Um, I mean, they're all smaller. There you go. You can see them a little bit right there. Um, um, I'm happy on in one instance that this is going on, that they're watching these different species around the world that are endangered, um, and that there are people that are doing things to um, try to preserve that species. Because I mean, um, there are many species that don't exist anymore, that are extinct, and it's been a lot of it's been man-made, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm happy to see that um um this is going on, and that um um and that this is happy. And at the same time, I'm also sad because, you know like the fishing, illegal fishing, and all this kind of stuff has led to this, and overfishing. I know probably in Canada, there's probably a lot of laws around conservation. I know in other areas, in the forest areas, there's things around that as well. Am I right? And is that true,
No, I
Teresa?
agree. I agree. And
Yeah,
but again, what is the underlying reason
yeah,
why we that there are people on this planet that are not respecting the ecosystem,
yeah.
in the water because they have to fish it, right? So
Right.
why do they have to do that? Is it because they can't earn an income doing something else? And therefore they're like, well, too bad, I have to provide for my family, and whether it impacts, that the number of, like, there's two things that this article points to: the porpoise, as well as there's a fish that's also being affected there too.
Right.
You're trying to maintain the numbers. And so, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, why are we doing this? Right? Why are we exploiting certain groups, and I mean, like, species of animals, and then affecting that ecosystem to that extent?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the ignorance, that we were talking about just in the last segment, that people just don't know about the fact that this is causing extinction, and the numbers are going low, and there isn't information provided. Like here, I know for hunting, for example,
Mm-hmm.
it's very legislated, it's very controlled, where
Right.
only so many licenses that are given out every year,
Right.
certain types of licenses. So there's, some are for, maybe there's only so many for female, so many for
Mm-hmm.
male. There's only certain times of the day, times of the year.
Right.
It's like very regulated. So
Right.
the populations are always being like under control and maintained. And
Right.
so, that is this not happening? Like, I feel like there could be a lot of ignorance.
I think that you just kind of talked about, and I think your hammer just hit the nail on the head. Where I think that in terms of like food, right? What I notice is in other places where they're more concerned about food security, both from the conservation side, but also like, making sure that people are fed, right? And that we're using the food that we're producing, because a lot of food
Mhm,
gets wasted,
mhm,
right?
exactly.
That we're that things are only in season, right?
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
like
mhm,
in Italy, for instance, when we were in Rome, and artichokes, and they say, well, artichokes are only in season a certain time of year, right?
mhm,
That doesn't mean so that means that they're not trying to over farm artichokes, right?
mhm.
They're not putting all this farmland and creating all this farmland so people can just eat artichokes anytime they want to eat it, right? And so I look at the same way as like the fishing, right? Where I think it's gotten to the point at which people want to eat fish anytime that they want to eat fish, right?
Mhm.
And there should be things like um
Season.
seasonal, like in Jamaica, where we were just in Jamaica, and and we went to a place and we were trying to get lobster, right?
Mhm.
And Jamaica's known for lobster, their spiny lobster. And they were like, oh, it's not in season, we don't have any because it's not in season.
Mhm.
And we're like, really? And they were like, yeah, they're trying to maintain it so that they're not overfishing the population, where they get it to a point at which there is no lobster anymore, right?
Exactly. And that's up here
Or they
too,
don't or
Canada.
they don't or they don't create like artificial farms, where now the lobster and all that stuff doesn't taste as good because of the fact that it's farmed. It's not like just, you
Mhm.
know fresh. And so I look at the same way, where again, I look at this as fear and ignorance, where we we have to know that we can't just, like, you know strawberries. I remember when I was a kid, strawberries weren't in season all year round.
Mhm.
You'd get strawberries at certain times of
Mhm.
year. Now you can be strawberries any time of the year,
Mhm.
and they don't taste as good,
Mhm.
right? Because they're farmed. It's people. Oh, well, there's demand for strawberries. It's like, well, why not just make it seasonal?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it is what it is,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
and and you're maintaining how much food is being produced and consumed, because it's not like we don't have enough food.
Mhm.
Millions of tons of food are thrown away
Mhm.
every single year.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would make us appreciate those
Correct.
particular items that are in season at that time.
Correct.
I'm just looking here at the article as well, and it says, so just to answer our question a little bit, it
Uh-huh.
says that the president, Obrador's administration has largely declined to spend money to compensate fishermen for staying out of the vaquita
Yeah.
refuge and stop using gill nets,
Yeah.
or to
Which
monitor
are killing the specifically the babies, right? The how they produce. And so the population just gets, smaller and smaller, but they've been holding steady so far, which is good news.
right? So they were giving people money, saying, "Don't touch, stay out of this. Here's your compensation."
Hmm.
But that is declined. So again, what is people's motivation? Is it because they have to feed their families? Like we're talking about Mexico here.
Right.
So
Exactly.
is it because they're trying and they're like, sorry, but I
Right.
need to put food on my table. So
Right.
it's difficult to see the bigger picture when you're looking for just access to food, basic necessities for
Exactly.
your family.
Exactly. Which
So
is the bigger picture. So, thanks for that. Thanks for that. But it's still a good story. I mean, we're happy that endangered species is kind of like leveled out, and that the things that they're doing to keep them around seems to be working. So, listen, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about this new scientific study that contradicts the belief that morality is declining. So that's actually good news. So we'll be back in about about 30 seconds.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. This is Brian Wesley Johnson with my beautiful co-host today, Teresa Greco. Hey, Teresa.
hello.
Hello. Uh, let's go to our last, but not the least, Monday motivation story. This comes from Nature magazine, where scientists are actually saying that new data contradicts the belief that morality is actually declining. For decades, people worldwide have said they believe morality is declining, but new research shows that this could be a cognitive illusion. Psychologists Adam Mastroianni and Daniel Gilbert examined studies conducted in 60 countries between 1949 and 2019 about moral values, and found that in response to 84% of the questions, most participants said they felt morality had declined. Now, in Mostrani and Gilbert's own 2020 surveys, the US participants of all demographics said they thought that people were less kind, honest, nice, and good. Now compared to other earlier times. The researchers then studied similar historical surveys. If as people all over if as all people over the world claim morality has been declining steady and uh, precipitously over decades, then people's reports of current morality should also have declined over the years. But they didn't. And they said that this means that the perception of moral decline is either false or it's at least very difficult to find any evidence that it has happened. So what this means is that over the course of all these years, that the decline hasn't remained constant. And that maybe, Teresa, I look at it like this. I think when good things are happening in the world, we don't hear about them. but we hear about all the bad. And so that affects our perception about the morality of our world, right? Because
Mhm.
newspapers and cable news stations and TV and all that, they focus on the bad stuff, right? The stuff that's
Mhm.
challenging, that's hard to hear. And you may get, and that's probably I'd say 90% of the news,
Mhm.
and the other 10% is like good stuff, right? Like
Us.
the dog gets found in the park, or like we were talking about today, like the porpoises, are the population of this almost endangered species is now kind of leveling off, and it looks like they're going to make it. All those stories don't really get, they're not front line and center. So it makes sense that people would feel that way. What do you think?
I totally agree. And when you said 90% is negative, I feel like maybe it's even, I feel like they have one story out of the whole
Well,
news
yeah, yeah,
end where
yeah.
they're like, oh, something good. And I'm like, wow, like, like one story out of all the negative ones. And so thanks for pointing that out, because it does two things. It celebrates what we're doing,
Right.
right? That we've dedicated an entire hour to talking about the good things that are happening
Woohoo!
on this planet and with people. So it does that, but it also it I think that you're right, because I think if you had to ask the question, because this is what I was asking myself, I said, if I had to ask this question with the people closest to me,
Right.
my family and friends, would I think that morality is going down, that
Hmm.
people are less kind? So I want people to think about their own people closest to them.
Hmm.
Do you think that the people closest are less kind,
Right.
less honest,
Right.
less nice,
Right.
and less good?
Right.
So not, what we think at society at large, because of, as you said, how the media portrays what's going on to humanity at large,
Right.
but to just those closest. Do you think that people are less of those things? And I'm going to say no. I don't think. I think that I am surrounded by very beautiful people. Brian, what would you say with the people?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I
Yeah.
would agree with that. I'd say that that is true. I'd say that I think that I think that you know
People are like
birds of a feather kind of flock together, and that there's a lot of good in the world that you miss out on when you stay kind of grounded in if all you ever see if all you ever see is negativity, which goes to something that's cited in this article, which is that it says that the authors speculate that people think there's a decay because of factors such as biased memory. Negative memories tend to fade faster than positive ones, right? And so the more negativity, the more things that you see that are negative all the time, you believe that that is what's happening, period, in the world. But if you're around people that are pointing out all this good stuff that's happening as well, then you're not as biased, right? You're like, no, there's good people in there. There's people that are kind. There's people that are giving. There's people that are compassionate. That it's not all that way. You know, and so and that becomes your experience too. I think you attract into your life those experiences as well.
yes, that's
You
what I was
know,
just going to say. What it's very
yeah.
karmic like that, right? What you give out, you
Hmm.
get back. So I agree. I think when you do unto others as you would have done unto you,
Hmm.
that or you be the change that you would like to see in the world, it tells us to be the change
Absolutely.
first. And then we see that coming into our reality. And so I feel like I get very little negative experiences. that I'm vibrating because I'm doing the work.
Right.
I'm vibrating at a frequency that, and because of the law of attraction, you just bring more of that to you. So I agree when you said about I love idioms, but I always get them wrong. But that birds of a feather one that you said, or the
Yeah.
apple doesn't fall far from the tree, like
Yeah.
things like this, right? That I think you can have a heaven on earth. That's one of my
Hmm.
shows as well, right? We can
Hmm.
have here a heaven on earth. Um, and just to go back to the article, it says here that he cites in the paper that 76% of people in the United States agreed that addressing, this is so interesting, addressing the moral breakdown of the country should be a high priority for their government.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, they, that this type of thinking that the world is going into, is it a handbag? Something in a
Yeah. 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 Yeah, exactly. And maybe we talk about that on a
hole
show
in the
one
handbag.
day because we're running out of time today. But it's just interesting that that people would say that it's the responsibility of the government to make us more moral. And it's like you're our morality comes from us. Right? It comes from us collectively. And so it's like you can't legislate like morality
Oh,
in
wow.
that way, right? And so well, you can try, but anyway, listen, this has been a great motivational Monday.
Yes, yes.
This has been a great, and so we're going to do this every Monday, everybody. This is how we do it. We want to make sure that you have something that kind of perks up, put some pep in your step.
And
And so,
celebrates humanity, celebrates
yeah.
goodness of humanity,
Mm-mm-mm.
highlights it, celebrates it, supports it, all of that.
Absolutely.
That's what we're
Absolutely.
doing.
Well, before we get out of here, let's do some shameless plugs. We got there's so much cool stuff that's happening with Soulivity right now, even more things that are going to be coming out in the future. But there's an amazing, amazing 6 week program that you're doing, Teresa. When you tell people a little bit about that?
Yes, so it's called mental freedom, which means do you want to have more mental freedom by being able to reframe and to look at circumstances in your life that aren't going so well by learning every week there are 6 different tools that's getting shared. So it's a group coaching program that's being offered just for this very first cohort. So it's
Hmm.
being offered for the first time here on the Aspire Academy
Hmm.
and at a huge discount. So this group coaching, if it's one-on-one, it would be even more, but group coaching it runs for 1,800, but it's being offered for only 333 for 6
Wow.
weeks. And it's a 2-hour program for 6 weeks. So it's dirt cheap. So I encourage people to take a look at it on our website. I don't know, Brian, if you could share the link where
Yep.
people can learn more about what you learn in the 6 weeks. But I would really encourage people to get in on this first cohort because you will not see that price again after we run this first one. So I encourage people to take a look.
Woohoo! This
Very
is so
more
cool.
freedom. Yes, more mental freedom.
Yeah, go check it out. You can go to Teresa's page on Soulivity. We've got the link right there. You can also check out some of Teresa's shows. In fact, there's a fantastic show coming up this Thursday for another Steps to Happiness show with Teresa Greco, where she's and this is so cool. Guess what the show is this week, Teresa?
Which one?
We are powerful creators.
Nothing happens for a reason.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, how cool is that?
Yeah.
So, Teresa's going to be talking about We Are Powerful Creators on Thursday at 12 noon, right here on Soulivity TV on all our social media and at soulivity.com. So, you want to make sure that you check that out as well. And that's it for our shameless plugs. This was a great show. It's always too quick.
Always, somehow.
We could just go like two hours with this if we wanted to, but you know. I think people would be like, "Oh, that's too much good news." Huh? I'm just kidding.
Goes back to our last article. This is too much
Exactly. It's too
news
much. I
now.
can't take it. I can't take it. I can't take it. Listen, everybody. So much more is happening with Soulivity. We hope that you follow us on social media as well as join our mailing list where you can find out more information about us, but you can also get access to exclusive content, but also gain insight on cool things that we do in the future, like giveaways. We give away books and other things here at Soulivity, including Soulivity merchandise. So you want to make sure that you follow us, and you can go to soulivity.com/this morning for more information, or follow us on your favorite social media platform. Wow. It's always too quick, as I said before. Always too quick. Well, we hope that you watch our other programming this week, from Consciously Awesome on Wednesday to, as we said before, the Steps to Happiness on Thursday, as well as later on today at 12 noon is another Tammy's Table. So you want to make sure that you watch all that as well. So I guess that's it, Teresa. I guess that's it for Monday.
Okay.
Thanks for joining me, by the way,
Thank
being
you.
here. Listen, on behalf of all of us here at Soulivity, I want to say thanks for joining us for this great episode of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast, or you can listen Thursdays and Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific on KMET 1490 AM radio for all of you out on the West Coast. Don't forget to get the KMET app to be able to stream wherever you are, mobile, in your car, at work, wherever. Listen, until next time, keep having real conversations with passion and purpose. And remember to always push forward with some empowerment, and to create a life full of high quality living today. We'll see you next time.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.